Good afternoon, listeners. You're welcome to another amazing episode of the Vigilant podcast. And today we are not going to be doing it the normal way you're used to. We are going to be doing it another way. And I have with me in the studio two amazing guests who are going to be doing this with me. Alright, before I forget, I'm your host, Elizabeth Fidelis, and I have with me Mr. Odiawa, who is a political analyst. And on my other side, I have with me the beautiful lady, Favor Eya, who is an historian. And today we are going to be talking on ethics in journalism. The question is, what is supposed to be the right attitude for journalists? All right, so Mr. Odiawa, can you just say hi to the listeners?
Okay, Elizabeth, thanks for having me on the show. Well, the right attitude for journalists, in my own taking, it should be that these journalists should obey or stick to ethics in which they've been groomed with in journalism, depending on the institution which they've acquired their tutelage. Like for instance, I know yes, being trustworthy, being objective also has to fall into one of those ethics when it comes to journalism. When it comes to being truthful, it doesn't have to be about falsifying facts. You say it as it is. It shouldn't be a case of whereby you see black and then you call it white, or you see white, you call it black, according to Fela. Then I'll give you a typical example. The colonial power, the British, actually, some time ago, one of the children was in the Air Force, and the Air Force, it's customary for every royalty to be in either the naval arm of the military or the army or the Air Force. But this particular regent was in the Air Force, and during World War II, the plane was struck down. The BBC, which was normally the official broadcasting network in Britain, picked it up, and it caught the ears of everyone. But because of the power of the monarchs, they said they had to take it down, even though that particular regent wasn't killed. So that is what I'm talking about, being truthful about journalism.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Odiawa. That was actually a lengthy hi. I asked you to say hi. But anyway, he's actually a political analyst, so you can't really blame him for that. All right, so Favor, I just wanted you to say hi to our listeners.
Hi everyone, I'm February, and I feel good to be here.
And it's nice to have you both.
Thank
All right,
you.
straight into today's discourse. Now, in journalistic ethics, truth, accuracy, and objectivity are essential components. A journalist should make an effort to, distance themselves from the areas, communities, and even nations they live in, because they are meant to be reporting truth, objectively. They are meant to be creating a kind of balanced report. Now, in the light of this, we'll be examining what should be the right approach for journalists, to sensitive issues like changes in government policies, report on abuse cases, rape, corruptive acts, and all that of politicians. And the first question here is going to be, we're going to be using, I think you are both aware of what happened, is it last week, between Rufai Oseni and, the chieftain of APC. There was a kind of clash, so people picked it up and it became so viral. Now, the question is, have Nigerian journalists faulted the ethics of journalism in a bid to uphold the journalistic principle of truth? Following the clash between, Rufai Oseni, like I just said, is a news anchor for the Arise TV News. Then we all know the chieftain of APC, and several controversies have been raised currently due to his style of journalism. So my first question will go to you, Mr. Ojewa. You're a political analyst. So from your viewpoint, can you say that Rufai Oseni's bold confrontation can be viewed as a journalist upholding the ethics of bravery? I mean, he's trying to be brave and, his presentation style without favoritism or bias.
Concerning Oseni Rufai, the incident took place 2 weeks ago, to be precise.
All right.
Now, I would say he was right and he was wrong.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So, being that he was right, my co-guest is laughing.
Yeah, she's actually,
She's eager to say something. I can understand. I would say he was right and he was wrong. Because right in the sense that you need to uphold the truth. Why? Because evidently concerning what is facing the nation, the difficulties and the challenges, we can't deny the fact that the current ruling party was also the ruling party of the previous administration. And these difficulties have persisted from the previous administration for 8 years, running into this present dispensation. Now, it's only normal for you to come out and begin to lash out concerning those difficulties. Now, being wrong concerning journalism is the fact that you should learn how to control your emotions. You should learn how to be indifferent, in the sense that he made a statement, to be precise. I put it to you. That statement is very, very accusing, and you don't do that.
Okay.
Secondly, the guest on his own part, who was being attended to virtually,
All right.
was, of course, no doubt about that. For every culture, every tribe has their own, way of life. So if you go to even Britain, they bow their head in form of genuflecting or prostrating. If you go to the east also, I know some places, some tribes where they have to put their hand behind and shake their elders with both hands this way and genuflect also. So for that man now to tell Rufai that he has no respect for his elders or something, it is because of the tone in which Rufai used, which is totally against the codes of journalism.
So, Mr. Ojo, are you trying to say that Rufai was not upholding the ethics of bravery? He was being brave. Oh, before you call me Miss Favor, I would like to say this. Okay, I said here that why there is a need for us to look into this current, journalistic style of journalists in Nigeria is because, if we don't look at it, it can present a problem for us as journalists, like for the whole news media in Nigeria, because we really need to know, in a country like this where journalists have to, become cowards, they have to hide, they don't have to, be so bold, and Rufai was being bold. He was being bold.
Exactly.
He said, I put it to you. So, is he not upholding?
No, it's a problem with English in Nigeria. I put it to you. Just like telling someone, imagine in Nigeria means a different thing. Someone telling you, I put it to you, you are here to misrepresent you or this thing. Like, from the whole scenario, what the man was saying, Rufai, if it is someone that is, let me say, wise enough or something, you would have known that this person is actually telling you the truth. You have to pick yourself. I put it to you that you are misrepresenting because that was exactly, if you saw that video, that was exactly what the man was doing. You are asked something, you are just beating about the bush, you are not stating the obvious. He couldn't say that this is how this thing came to become this way. You're just telling people that before the president came that the subsidy was already removed, but you're not bringing any clarity there. So Rufai saying that to him wasn't an insult.
So are you saying Rufai was trying not to show favoritism?
Yes, he was trying. If the man was not expecting something, because from my own perspective, he was just waiting for Rufai to say something.
Oh, so that means he
overreacted. Someone saying I put it to you, it's not an accusation, it's not an insult. I put it to you that you are doing this. You can say no, this is actually, like, that's even the very point that you can come in and start giving more clarity to what you have already said. But immediately he said that I put it to you, he actually puts it upon him.
All right, so Mr. Odiawa, thank you so much, Favor. you said that you agree and you do not agree. So I need to direct this question to you. Now, is it proper to use the confrontational, approach while on air? You have experience being an anchor, okay? You do viewpoints and you analyze political issues. Now, do you feel or do you think that when somebody is using the confrontational approach, as journalists, we are meant to not show bias? Okay, we are meant to be bold. We are meant to, address issues because the citizens are looking up to us to present issues that are actually troubling them. So, do you feel using such approach while you're on air, okay, you are being, people are watching you live? Do you feel it's actually wrong? And it's also like helping the journalists to uphold the truth and to also appear objective.
Well, concerning confrontation, which you said, is, to me, it is totally wrong. Why? Because there's need for you to apply cognitive behavior as regards psychology. Okay. First of all, before you bring on the person you're trying to host and ask a question concerning certain issues, there's always a need for you to carry out a background research. So you know the kind of person you're talking to. You won't compare a learned president like Obama and place him side by side with someone who is half-baked and is ruling one African country. It can't happen. They are totally different. So before you bring the person on the show, before any form of argument, you on your own part, because you've been schooled concerning journalism, the confrontational issue has to be erased totally. That is where a sense of diplomacy now has to be applied, whereby you have to be objective. And in your objectivity, that is where that cognitive behavior as regards playing on the psychology of your guest now comes into play.
Sorry, I would like to cut you in there. People are, after this thing happened, people have been saying he's not putting in journalistic, blah, 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 and the other. But do you know that very chieftain of APC is a legal practitioner? So from his own side, as a lawyer, an upholder of the law and everything, did he approach him the right way?
That's why, if you remember or recall, I began by saying that different cultures have their own way of life. Even in Britain, they respect this culture of prostrating. So they are the ones who even brought this learned field to you here.
Why should I have prostrated?
He was not going to prostrate. He's not going to prostrate.
Right.
We are totally deviating now from being practical when it comes to culture and greeting.
Few days ago, I was actually watching Sky News. I don't know if you've ever come across their videos, and I actually observed a trend that the news anchors on Sky News, they happen to use this approach. Okay, one was interviewing, I think, somebody, the former Prime Minister of Israel, on this current, the strife between Hamas and Israel. And so he made a statement, and all of a sudden they started having the kind of argument. So it's like a kind of trend for them. Their reporters often have this kind of confrontation with their guests. So if they do this, is it wrong for we to adopt that kind of system in Nigeria?
Let me say something clear. First of all, it wasn't an argument. I can't call that an argument. An argument is like you bring up a point and I tackle it with another point. But that man was fighting. He was quarreling there. He was using, how can you, he made a statement. He said this is not animal psychology. It was an insult to Rufai because he actually studied animal something in school. So that was telling him that this is not animal psychology. After all, maybe you are not supposed to be here. So it was him insult, and I believe me, drastic situations, you just have to be drastic as well. Once he brings up something like that, he was trying to talk him down that you are not even worth being here or interrogating me or so. That's not an argument. I can't call that an argument. He was being rude. He was insulting him.
So, Favor, if I should interpret what you just said correctly, you're saying that when journalists happen to be confrontational during live shows where they have guests, they're actually trying to uphold truth.
For me,
And to be
it's
objective.
a skill for that journalist to bring out,
Okay?
like to bring out the
You are
truth
calling
of-
this person
yes.
out. You're saying, okay, what you're saying now is actually wrong.
Okay, I'm a journalist and I'm accusing you of something.
All right?
When you have a bold stand that this is what actually happened, it's up to you to still maintain your place and be stating the obvious. But when you don't have, it's either what I'm accusing you of is the truth.
All
Or at
But
that
then,
point,
sorry,
you are lacking words.
I have to say something here. Mr. Odio made a point that I actually agree with. He talked about diplomacy.
Yeah.
And apart from diplomacy, there's something called emotional intelligence.
Okay.
I feel as journalists, why on air we should be intelligent. Okay, looking at the Rufai situation, I have to say that Rufai action wasn't really wrong, and I don't think there's something like people should actually escalate it. He just said, I put it to you, you came here to misrepresent fact and everything. But then I feel that maybe the actual tone and the interpretation that surround what he said was what caused people to start, backlashing him and all that. But talking about comforting your guests on shows, why bring them in the first place if you're actually going to be arguing with them?
That's why I said you should carry out a background check
Okay.
before you bring them on the scene.
I think he believed in the man because someone that is a lawyer, you are learned enough. So
No,
maybe
when you say the person is a lawyer,
yeah.
there are so many lawyers who are in the Senate that are looting.
Yeah.
So it's about passing through that institution. Did the institution pass through you when you became a lawyer? So it's not just the fact that you're a legal practitioner. No, there are so many quack doctors out there are so many quack lawyers out there. So it's a case of fine. I'm not saying that this particular legal practitioner was a quack,
Okay.
but when you pass through a school that certifies you to be a lawyer, you should also prove that school also has passed through you, because you're an alumni of the school. That's why I began by saying that both parties are right and both parties are wrong. So it's a case of pointing out where they went wrong.
For me, I think that Rufai was doing his job. It was up to the APC chieftain to also do his job by responding the right way. So,
All right. So, dear listeners, now on this particular question, my take on this is that as journalists, now I understand that it is important that you confront people with the truth while on air, but then there is a place for emotional intelligence. I feel that there could have been a better way that Rufai should have put that statement. Rather than saying, I put it to you, you could have said something like, sir, could you be, you could just, for the sake of, like he said, don't disrespect me. So I feel that emotional intelligence will go a long way to help you as journalists. Now, going to the next question I have here, my question will go to Favor. Favor, is news presentation supposed to be opinionated in the sense that does it have to be something that you as a journalist should place in your opinion? News is meant to be something that should be balanced. It should not be subjective. It should be objective. That is, you have to place both sides. Now, looking at what happened, Rufai was actually placing his opinion.
yes.
Let us be sincere.
Yes.
It was his opinion, right? So is that how news presentation is supposed to be?
Okay, I believe there is a difference between reporting a news
Okay.
and then being a journalist. As a journalist, you're not solely a reporter, because a reporter, I see this is on the news like this. I will come and just say so person died, this. I like just give the news. But I think as a journalist, you have to be opinionated, say that this is my own view concerning this thing. That's what makes you that's where the profession revolves around. So saying people that are saying that Rufai is biased or he's taking sides, it's just his opinion.
All right. Do you agree with this,
understand?
Mr. Dio?
The part where Favor will say reporters are not journalists, I will say they are also journalists, because
I say it's an aspect of it. It's not solely, it's not the whole thing.
Okay, because we have print and media in journalism. Now, in today's world, now we have the blogs and the YouTubes, which is now another form of journalism. We call it digital media.
Yeah.
Now, following up with the question, what's the question again?
Is news presentation,
Exactly.
does it have to be something that you place your own opinion
So when it comes
over the
to
facts?
news, presenting the news, whether it's an opinion thing, I would say no, because news is actually meant to keep people informed. So you, upon hearing the news on your TV screen or whatever gadget you're streaming from, and the platform which you're reading from, or the newspapers or magazines, it is now you with the individuals who will now, sit down between your friends or family members, or like we are here now talking about it now turn it to an opinionated platform. So for instance, now this extravagant affair between the executive and the legislative, where they want to purchase a yacht.
Okay.
We just heard the news.
Yeah.
So different media houses will turn it to a talk show. That's why it now become opinion based.
Okay. But I think in the context of what happened, it was actually a kind of opinion based.
Yes,
show.
it wasn't a news.
So it wasn't wrong for him.
Yes.
It wasn't
Okay.
a news presentation. So it wasn't wrong for him to have,
Exactly.
placed his own opinion. So in that kind of scenario, I think it is permitted, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, going to the next question. Talking still on news reports. Now, I'm very curious. I'm so curious because growing up, I watched a lot of, news presentation reporters and broadcasters. And then the passion steered me to study mass communication. And in the process, I've come to find that in the news line, or let me say in the journalism profession, hardly will you hear the truth. Now, my question is, will news ever carry elements of objectivity following the current threats that hangs on the air for journalists who dare to be bold enough to speak the truth? My question will go to you, Mr. Odin.
For me, I began by saying that we should call white as it is and black as it is.
Right.
But we live in a world where if you don't shut your trap jaw, you end up on the floor. So it's a question of, when I will still fall back on diplomacy. Why? Because when you're in Rome, behave like a Roman. Now, for instance, now the current administration, now fine, people are complaining. But in a bid to, for instance, there are people who have the muscle to fight the administration, and there are people who don't have the muscle to fight the administration. Let's be frank. You who doesn't have power to fight the administration, you go mentioning the name of the person, that is when you might hit the floor for not shutting your trap jaw. So you now owe yourself a duty of safety to say the executive arm. That is where you now apply diplomacy. Who is the executive arm is left for whoever to whom it may concern. So that is the thing. So you can also come out saying the truth. You can't compare a common man to Wole Soyinka. Wole Soyinka is an elder statesman. Edwin Clark is another elder statesman. These people will come outside. Asari Dokubo is another elder statesman. They have the muscle to face even the current administration. So you on your own part till tomorrow, I will say you apply diplomacy.
Okay, I will say something like, I will start with the quotes. Whatever you want to do, you do it right.
Okay.
If you know you don't have the muscle for journalism, leave it. Right. If you want to do something, get to the edge. Like that's why people like persons like David Hyundai. He doesn't care. He doesn't have bodyguards or all the money or all the influence, but he's there. That's one journalist in Nigeria that I'm really proud of. That these are people that you like.
Okay, Favor, to ask your question.
So
how well have you carried out your thorough background checks concerning this fellow, even up to his family?
Yes, I know, but see.
And we don't just end there. There are some people who, for instance, now they might have a Nigerian passport and they have an Israeli passport. If you touch an Israeli citizen, why? Because he has spoken the truth, which actually he has to say anyway.
Yeah.
They will come for you. That is the thing. So let's look at this.
So
that's why I said you should apply
David
diplomacy.
David is doing that because he has a number.
I use that as an example because if you look at the heavyweights in the media industry or the journalism practice when we talk about it, if you look at it, John Momo is the owner of Channel TV. You don't want to know the crucifixions he has faced in the past. The late High Chief Doc Bessie of AIT, of blessed memory, may his soul rest in peace. If you look at him, you don't want to know the crucifixions he has also faced in the past. Showore is another example also. he comes out, and when he comes out, you look at his entourage.
But sorry, I have to come in here. Are we now saying that? Don't think journalism if you don't have the backbone. Don't think journalism if you don't have power or influence.
That's what I'm saying.
So are we now saying to those studying mass communication in university, those undergraduate, that they should not even think about venturing into it?
No.
So what's not the fate of journalism now?
We are not saying they shouldn't venture it. It's a noble field. What we are saying is that the climate in which you find yourself now currently will not favor. I did a show recently, the battered rights of some victims. I mentioned the likes of Dele Giwa, who was killed with a letter bomb. As at that time, the rights and physical protection concerning journalists was not feasible compared to now. Like the music, let's use the musicians now. They were going on their own. They were harassed by even the military during the military regime. As we speak now, they even use their songs to pass a message across to effect changes. They go about with bodyguards now. And most of them now have dual citizenships or even triple citizenships. So you cannot just go and harass them just like that. So I'm not saying, my argument now is not that those who are even coming out with the dream of practicing journalism should not. Of course they should. But the thing is that if you know that yes, your water is getting finished, definitely you will not look for how to refill it. So that is my point.
But then you both haven't answered my question. My question is, will news reports in Nigeria ever carry elements of objectivity? Because journalists are scared of saying the truth, and those who even say it will backlash them. So like, will we ever have news report that we be objective and you're not trying to speak for one party?
Stations and all that people know that these people are genuine. Like if you go online, they already know that this. If you want to hear biased news, tune into this particular station. If you want people that are straightforward, that will tell you the truth when things are good and when things are bad, they already know who to follow. So the truth is that the society already knows who is saying the truth and who is not saying the truth, who is government influenced and who is private. So if you are asking about their existence, they are in Nigeria and people know them, just that they are quiet and they don't really want to talk about it. So
I'll take a cue for what Favor has said. I mentioned the arms of journalism now, which is the new one. They call them the blogs and the vlogs. If they show you the owner of Yaba Left, you will not know he's the one. If they show you the owner of Instablog, you won't know he's the one. Why? Because they know how they fetch their stories in an investigative manner. I will call it investigative journalism, which they say. So when they get their facts like that, they know how they present it. Not necessarily the physical figures in real life. Sometimes they are animated, but we know who we are talking about.
Exactly.
So that is also another way of preserving your life. Imagine, we know it's a life-threatening job. Why? Because of the kind of truths you're going to uncover and expose. Now imagine your life now is terminated. Now, how does that entity continue or perpetuate telling the truth? Will it do that from the grave?
But then, isn't news or journalism supposed to be something where you speak the truth without being afraid that something's going to happen to you? So why should we have that kind of climate in Nigeria that journalism is not even favorable to practice?
That becomes a problem of the government.
That is now a broader picture whereby you will now begin to talk about the cabals.
Yes, and security system as well.
Because for it, she just mentioned security.
All right, so over to the final question I have before we round up this podcast. Now, I'm going to be making reference to the Rufai's case again. There are also other cases whereby journalists have had clashes with, their guests and all that. And so I'm going to make reference to what happened, okay? Now, after what happened, a lot of people on Twitter were speaking against him. Some spoke against his style of journalism. So some said he was being biased. Some just said a lot of things. Now, I have a question. Favor, I'm going to ask you this question. Should journalists now distort the truth because of the audience, so that because you don't want to offend them?
Let me say one thing. I think if I'm a journalist and I want to really know that I'm good at what I'm doing, when I start getting attacks from some particular persons, I know, yes, I'm doing the right thing. But when you are a journalist and everybody is oh wow, I love what you say, politicians, common men. No, you're doing the wrong job. So because I also keyed into that particular content, and I went down to the comment section. The bad comments are coming from a particular set of people. Even one threatened that he's not going to rest until Rufai loses his job. So if I'm a journalist and I see that kind of thing, I know that I am doing the right thing, because now it's now getting to these particular people. So that is to say that being a journalist, you have to be prepared and know that you mustn't be a person of some particular class of people. Wow. So that's it.
Then what do you have to say, Ms. Odira?
Stop again with the question.
I said, should journalists now distort the truth because they don't want to offend the audience?
I will never support distorting the truth, because like they will say in my family, the more you cover the truth, you have to tell another lie to protect the previous lie.
Exactly.
So if you don't come out with the truth as a journalist, that's why I said earlier on, making reference to the answer I gave, you will need to know how you present it. For instance, if you cannot present the physical figure, you present it in one animated manner. It may be one caricature note or drawings in a newspaper or something. At least the message has been passed across.
Yeah, which is the most important thing.
The message has been passed across. One thing still stands: you must always convey the truth to the masses, because even the masses, when they see that, yes, this thing is glaring, but you're falsifying the facts, you lose your credibility before even the masses. For instance, if you had a large fan base and you go doctoring the truth, you begin to lose credibility. Why? Because that particular truth which you doctored has affected the populace in totality. So I will keep maintaining the stand that the journalist must always stand for the truth.
All right, so I'm actually trying to get some of the comments that some people made that made me actually ask that question, right? Because I feel that Nigerians are actually the problem to journalism practice. You say you want the truth, and you say you want the truth, and all of a sudden a journalist gives it to you, and
just like I told you, those comments were coming from a particular set of people. So, and it depends on who also made the post. Like where I read it from, it was posted by Reno. So you know that people that are commenting under Reno, the comments you get under Reno's post is not the same comments you get under Punch newspapers. So I think it's not Nigerians, it's coming from a particular sect, and they are giving their comments are the same. Most of them might even be paid, if I'm not wrong.
Wow. Okay, so we are going to actually reading out some, tweets of what people said. I think this is a post made by Punch newspaper on what happened. Someone said, everyone supporting APC is not normal.
We can't say it's playing now, we are seeing it.
Well, you shouldn't follow everything you see on social media. Because even on social media, I'm
actually reading people's comments. That was why I asked that question. Should journalists now distort the truth? Okay, look at what this person said. He said, every sane girl should decline Arise TV invitation if Rufai is going to be a member of panelists. It is no longer funny how he sets people up for embarrassment from the get-go. This is an audience commenting. So now, should Rufai now distort the truth because he wants to please these people?
So are they trying to tell us that everyone that Rufai has interviewed or interrogated ended up as that man?
Well, if you ask me,
if you want to be embarrassed, you'll be embarrassed. That's it.
Another one said, who made Oseni a journalist? And why is it impossible to call him to order from his bosses? Or is he the boss of the station? Or is he using jazz? Even if he doesn't have bosses at the station, what happens to the ethics of the profession and professional conduct on live shows? And that was what made me ask that question. That is confrontational approach allowed on air? So now somebody is saying this. I mean, this is a concern for us as journalists. We need to, because people are taking this issue in another light, and it's actually trying to paint a bad light on we as journalists. So I'm not saying because of people like this, should we now sit and say, oh, let's favor these people, let's please them, let's just, rub body with them while on air so that people don't say anything.
The thing, do you know my problem? I'm still trying to figure out the particular minute of that video that Rufai said something wrong, because I've gone over it, is it the I put it to you? Should English be that hard? Is it the I put it to you that is the problem? Or I've gone through that video and people are just making some business comments. I didn't see where they were making an argument, quite alright. So I didn't see where he actually says something that is offensive. If someone puts something to you, it's left for you as a guest there to say something back, in order to maintain your stand. But you went on to
okay
destabilize yourself and started shouting and ranting.
Okay, Favor. Sorry to cut you abruptly there.
Mm-hmm.
How would you feel if the police came accusing you for something you didn't do by starting with a statement, I put it to you?
I put it to you, I put it back to you.
Alright.
I think I did the on it. I'm not supporting what the man did. Neither am I supporting what Rufai did, because we are still talking about objectivity and professionalism here.
Yeah.
So if you're being accused of something you are not a party to, you won't take it kindly. Police comes here, or whatever law enforcement agency or NDLEA comes here, I put it to you that you're a drug peddler.
Oh, well, Rufai is not a police, so...
Well, I'll read this last comment, this last tweet, okay? This last comment on this tweet. Someone said, Rufai Oseni needs to be cautioned. Is there no governing body for journalism in Nigeria anymore? He confidently bluffs on air as if he owns everyone, spreading negativity.
This person is
Most of the journalists are toxic. I mean, like I said, it is now a concerning issue for us, because it is now more like they're not generalizing it that we journalists, we are toxic. So when we come on air doing opinion shows and we try to tell the people that, oh, you're doing the wrong thing, it becomes that we are actually not being professional.
Well, another thing we should look at now concerning the industry of journalism becoming toxic, I disagree to that, because fine, there are some people who, because yes, a journalist definitely is either paid to talk or paid to write.
Alright.
That's what they do. They talk, they write.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in today's world now, anybody, for instance, who is a lawyer too is someone who talks. He can be brought in because of today's metamorphosing of the digital media and say, okay, yes, he now owns a studio. He can just get some equipment in-house or whatever. Because he can talk, he has set up a TV station, but it is not on conventional platform in the TV media now. It is now on the digital media, whereby anyone can access it on their smart TVs or TV sets or phones or Androids or tablets. So that's another thing. The lawyer now has not actually been schooled when it comes to ethics of journalism, but he has only been schooled in ethics concerning the law. Now he's only being able to talk. That's why he feels or thinks maybe he now has a flair for journalism. But no, the actual ethics for journalism now is now out of the way. So for that fellow to generalize that journalists are toxic, I disagree to that.
Alright, thank you so much, Favor and Mr. Ojewa. It was nice having you guys. So, dear listeners, now to end this podcast, I just want to share my own view. I feel that as journalists, we should uphold the truth. But like I said in the beginning, there's a place for emotional intelligence. That is to balance the professional aspect of journalism. So in as much as people are saying all this, that shouldn't deter you as a journalist to always speak the truth when there is need. So it's at this junction, I'm going to be bidding you farewell, and I really want to say a big thank you to my two guests for making the show an interactive one. Thank you for joining us and listening to us on the Veegil podcast. Next episode, we're going to bring you something amazing. I still remain your lovely host, Elizabeth Fidelis.
Bye.
Bye-bye.